So that's the type of thing. So boys struggle to get adopted. Children over the age of 7 struggle to get adopted. They even sort of stop looking, to be honest. Also, like you say, children with disabilities and mixed race children really struggle. Yeah. Really, really struggle. And they struggle more than black children, actually, because when you're looking for a place, you can just place a black child with a black family. Mm-hmm. But what do you do with a mixed race child? Do you put them with a white family? Do you put them with a black family? And then the amount of mixed race adopters are much smaller pool than black adopters.
Leading on to that, I spoke earlier about my friend who ended up being adopted. Before he told me he was adopted, I was doing the maths, and the maths didn't make sense because his mum, or his adopted mum, is mixed race,
right,
and his dad is white.
Right.
But he's mixed race, and he was darker than both of them. So I'm just like,
nah, what's going on here?
This the maths. So I'm not a biologist, but I was thinking genetically it just didn't make sense. So I was thinking if they had been really stringent, he might not have even been adopted. But like, oh, sorry, like your mum's fairer than you, and.
Well, they actually used to be, and so basically, do you remember when we had the coalition government between Lib Dems and Conservatives? Mm-hmm. They had I can't remember what his name was. I think his name's Tim Loughton. I think he came from an adoptive family himself, so he actually relaxed the rules on that. Because
it makes sense, though.
Social workers were being quite stringent, and it was leaving a lot of black children and Asian children just in kind of this foster care limbo.
It's better off being raised, in my humble opinion, to be raised by a family that is in your demographic that loves you than to be in a care home.
Yeah, so we have the ideal of what we want for a child who's going to be adopted, but then once we can't find the ideal, then we just have to say we're just going to have some loving parents. Mm-hmm. You know, and this is the argument I always get when people say to me, should gay people adopt? And this is what I say to them. If you don't want gay people to adopt, then more straight people need to start adopting. Mm. And the fact of the matter is, it's the choice is they stay in care. That's the choice for them.
Sorry, so a quick question. So the question around should gay people adopt, what's the reason behind the question? Is it that it's better for... like a mother, like a male, female.
I think that's their thing, and it's also when you get religious communities blocking adoptions as well of certain children. But then my argument is, if there was enough cohort of adopters of that religion or whatever, then you wouldn't need anybody else to come in.
And sometimes it's not even just the dynamic of growing in a gay home, whatever people's reservations might be, that which isn't our own, but just in terms of kids can be horrible. The whole thing is growing up, you have 2 dads, ha 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 ha, this kid could be bullied. But that dynamic, in my opinion, is healthier than growing up in a care home with loving parents.
And
I think I mean, my personal experience, like, adoption is very complex. So imagine adoption for kids. So like when I would tell kids I was adopted at school, people were so confused. So I often had to explain things. And in primary school, it was fine. It was just confusion. So like people would call my mum and dad, my adopted parents, my step parents, and I'd have to be like, no, that's not what it is. They're not step parents. Or sometimes I would get called an orphan, and I'd be like, no, my birth parents aren't dead. I'm not an orphan. So there's a lot of explaining that you have to do. Whereas when you go into secondary school, it's confusion as well, but added on to that, presumptions, because children start to get their own minds in secondary school. And like you say, kids get mean.
Was you ever bullied or anything for being adopted? Did anyone make... Oh, really?
Yeah. Anything that's different. I mean, I was really different.
What would they say?
Like, no wonder you were adopted. You know, who would love you as a child? Your mum was a prostitute, this, that and the other. You know, you're an orphan. Like, if I was your parents, I'd put you up for adoption too. Like, but
Who did you go to? Like, really deep.
Kids are horrible, but I was specifically a target, not only because I was adopted. I was really into rock music as a teenager. I did the black hair, the lot. Part of me was asking for it, but...
Can't say that's asking for it.
Not asking for it, but kids
target.
can't accept things that are different, and I looked different purely for my music taste. That's all it ever was. I just liked different music. I liked the black. I liked the guitars. I learned how to play guitar. I was really into it, and it was something I shared with my dad. My dad's really into rock music, and that was our thing.